when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. You gotta sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You gotta sing when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. Sing, sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Sing When You're Winning, a Fantasy Football League oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty and another very special guest this week who we will reveal very shortly. So waiting in line for the podcast throne once again this week are myself, Jamie, we've got Steve, we've got Lee, and we've also got a very, very special guest. But can everyone introduce themselves, the name of their team, and in honor of our special guest manager this week, can everyone share what's the best gig they've ever been to? I'll go first because I can clearly see that stumped people. The best gig I've ever been to was Arctic Monkeys back before they'd released a single thing back in 2005. They played Middlesbrough Empire, and everyone it was like a greatest hits gig. Everybody in the crowd had obviously downloaded the music, knew every word, and it was a sellout, and it was mental. It's like nothing I've ever been in atmosphere-wise ever. And I've seen some cracking bands, but there was just something about that night. It was very, very good. So that's mine, I would say.
Nice.
Who wants to go next?
Go on, I will. My name's Lee Cooper, manager of the Angry Dragons. Best gig, I would say, massive Prince fan, believe it or not, and
Okay.
Love Sexy 88 was the tour. I think was just leaving training in the army, so I was an army apprentice, and three of us went to Wembley to see it, and then we had to leave about 5 minutes before the end when everything went like mental. It was absolutely superb. So I'd say Love Sexy 88, but I also love any Cortinas gig as well, because they're just entertaining. So yeah, there you go. That's me.
Excellent, thank you. And Steve?
I'm Steve. My team is the Boys, and I think we've had this question before, haven't we? The best gig question. Did we do that in one of the first weeks? Something.
Best festival, I think
Best
it
festival
was.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. A slight difference on that. It was
again,
best festival. Yeah,
I can't really think what my best gig was. I remember first gig I think I went to was the Farm in York in the Barbican, which I think that was the first proper band that I went to see, if you like. And that was great because it was like on a Thursday, but for some reason the Wednesday night we'd gone out into town, and the Farm were in the nightclub
Brilliant.
in York. So, and I remember Peter Hooton bought me a pint, or somebody introduced me. I think some girls we knew them, and they were kind of like fans, and they sort of used to contact them whatever way he did back in 1990, probably letters or something. So they kind of knew him, so they introduced him, and then he was starting talking to me, and then he was like, "Oh, do you want to buy a pint, mate?" And I was like, "Oh, great!" And I'm thinking, "Wow, this is a guy who's on top of the pops, and he's buying me a pint." And I'm not even 18. So, yeah, that was great. So then to go and see the night after, it was fantastic, and then we had sort of after party stuff, and it was great. Yeah.
Good stuff. Nice one. So let's introduce our special guest, because we've given you a bit of a clue there. Why have we gone down the gig route? And this week's special guest is the owner of legendary Leeds venue, the Brudenell Social Club, and director of Brudenell Presents. Fiercely passionate about his local community and about the creative community around it. He is the face of live music in Leeds and a strong advocate for the power of grassroots music. Let's give a warm Sing When You're Winning podcast welcome to Nathan Clark.
Hello.
How are you doing? Tech
Very
all
good.
working good. Tech all working good.
Slightly. It's quite pixely in it, but I can hear you and you can hear me, so that's the main thing.
That is the main thing, indeed. So do you want to share your fantasy football team name and how long you've been playing fantasy football?
I went deeply original with Brudenell as a team name. It kind of came through just putting in and starting the venue league that now has nearly 3,000 people taking part of it, and the team name just started through that, and it's been hard to change it ever since. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And then probably 8 or 9 years playing fantasy football and tried various techniques throughout, you know.
And you've been successful.
Yeah.
I mean, some weeks where recently it's like, why not use AI and just put in what substitute should we do this week? I mean, sometimes it throws in some real curveballs, but you just give it a go. I'm not saying that's the way to go because it hasn't been last week, but yes.
Does that make you more of a director of football then, Nathan? You've got AI doing your management.
I think that depends when you've got when you're time constraint. That would be the director of football. It's probably better than Ten Hag does anyway. He might be using AI.
It must be a very, very poor version.
Works for me.
Yeah, that free version.
So, with 3,000 people in your league, then, and how does that compare to this small little league that we've got with Sing When You're Winning? I imagine it's a very different experience being part of this.
I think it's nice to know who you're playing, and that you build up those rivalries, and you kind of, you've got those people that you look forward to playing and beating, right? You build up those friendly kind of bits that go with it. So I think that's part of the camaraderie and the overall experience. Whereas you're playing in a group of 3,000 and you know your certain group, but overall you've got a very limited amount, and it's all about those few at the top that are reaching for the highest points, you know.
Yeah, it's trying to keep an interest in it, I think, when there's that many people in it.
Yeah.
It just becomes one of the other codes that you're involved in, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, yeah. Like a few years ago, I did the Leeds Supporters Trust. I set it up for them, and there was about 1,500 people in that, and then it's just hard to keep an interest in it. It's hard to keep people who are 970th in the league interested in still playing, because then that's how you stop picking your team. You think, well, I'm 500 points behind, so why should I bother?
Yeah.
And I think that leagues like this, and we've got an internal head-to-head one between our staff, and I think that leagues like that actually give you the reminder to start to do your team on a more regular basis and not miss deadlines and stuff. Whereas you're right, when you don't do that, you just miss a deadline because you think, does it really matter this week?
Yeah. Although sometimes just leaving your team's the best policy.
We've got a few of them who would say that. But you mentioned rivalry. Who are your rivals then? Are you not wanting to give that away?
My rivals or anyone's rivals?
Your rivals, yeah, I'm interested. Who's your rivals as you look at it?
I mean, I think it's the people that you know. I don't think it's rivals as such. I think it's the people who you've met personally, or certain people in bands that you've kind of known. So I don't know. It's always nice to play someone like Frankie Francis, right? Who we go back, over a decade, and when he was in a band, and it's nice to think, oh, you're a Mackem, right? We want to do the Mackems, especially after last week and the football. So when that game comes up, we can't be getting beat by them.
No.
Excellent. We'll watch out for that game coming up then in the season. And I think that's where the cup competition comes into its own as well, mixing it up across the leagues as well. Because there's some cracking teams in the conference. You look at the scores that they're getting each week, and you're like, wow. So
yeah, I think all the best players are there.
It seems to be. Keep them there. Right, should we have a review? We'll chat a bit more, Nathan, about you and why, like how and why you support Leeds very shortly. But let's have a bit of a review of game week 7. So sorry, Lee, but how Spursy was that second half performance against Brighton?
It was pinnacle Spurs, wasn't it? 2-0 cruising or seeming to cruise, and then as soon as Brighton, I'm a typical Spurs fan. As soon as Brighton scored, I thought, oh, here we go again, because we can't defend for shit, to be honest with you. Absolutely dreadful. It's like going back to the days when Ozzy Ardiles was manager, and you're gonna, you might win some 6-5 or you might lose some 7-6, but I don't know. There just seems to be no plan B, I think it's fair to say, with Big Ange, who I like because he plays attractive football, but it's almost like he's too pig-headed to change it and say, right, okay, we're 2-0, let's let's not just attack all the time. I don't know. It's just that fine line, isn't it? But yeah, I was absolutely gutted. And because I've got no internet at the minute at home, I had my father-in-law, who's a Derby County fan, going, "Oh, you've gone 2-0 up. Oh, 2-1. Oh, it's 2-all now. Oh, 3-2." I'm like, oh, for flip's sake, I can't fall out with you. You're my father-in-law. So it was an absolute nightmare. But it's been part of being a Spurs fan, I think. But it's like being a Leeds fan, I guess. It's like that same sort of thing.
Even Jorginho scored against you, and he's not a finisher.
No, he's not. No, oh God. Yeah, it was, and I was playing talking about rivalries as well. I was playing Col, who's my mate. He's a big United fan. So anyone that plays Col, Leeds fans, you want to beat his team. Real sociable dad, I think his team is. So always put a bit of a triple captain on there, and that's what he did to me. He put triple captain on Cole Palmer. Basically, he cheated in my eyes. That's what he did. He cheated and he won only by 5 points, though. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
He's still got 3 points.
Good stuff. And is it time to ditch Haaland after 2 low-scoring game weeks? That might sound like a ridiculous question, but some people might be thinking it. He's a lot of money, and he's had 2 game weeks where he's not really done much.
No, everyone's been reactionary every week out there. Haaland scores hat-trick 3 weeks in a row, and then he doesn't. Then everyone's thinking, we've got to get rid of him now. He's not going to score every week. But Palmer scores hat-trick, everyone gets him in, doesn't do anything. Phil Foden's going to come good yet. Saka had a good week last week. Everyone will be buying Saka this week. Somebody else will have a good week. Not this week, but next week after internationals. So.
Yeah. Well, I think quite a few people might start to ditch Haaland just because people, like you say, are reactionary from that point of view. And he's a lot of money to have. And looking at the midfielders out there, there's not a lot of high-scoring strikers this season, so you're probably better off having like 5 quality midfielders potentially.
Yeah, well, you got Delap coming through. He's scoring points. Welbeck scoring points. So you got 2 really cheap strikers there now that are actually getting points at the minute.
Yeah, I've got Welbeck with Haaland at the moment.
Do you think some of that's due to the main kind of formations played in the Premier League at the moment, and how they're a lot of teams are using, and certainly when you're going back to Spurs, tactically, they don't have a leading line number 9 like they did with Kane, right? But a lot of the teams don't have that. So very Spursy, you've got inverted wingers that cut inside, and then the fullbacks are going on beyond, right? So it's creating a congested 18-yard box. But that means that a typical number 9 doesn't have any space in behind them because it's too congested. So those apart from Haaland, there hasn't really been anyone that's taken up that mantle of getting those goals and high scoring. So it is about probably looking at that, the wing backs that are going to get you the points and the 5 midfielders probably, and that's maybe down to the tactics of playing the false 9 or the 10 or whatever else in midfield, that diamond shape.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to maths, doesn't it, as well, as much as I'm loath to say it, because like Steve said last week, you've got a defender that gets as much for a clean sheet as a striker for scoring a goal. So, obviously you can only get 1 clean sheet a match where you can get a couple of goals, but the fact that strikers aren't getting as many points now, it's the midfield seems to be the place. I took out Salah this week because he was taking up the majority of funds for my midfield, because I had Salah and Haaland after I did my wild card, and just even swapping him out for Cole Palmer gives me a bit more, so I can get another decent midfielder, because there's some bargains out there. I think you're probably right, Nathan. I think the way that teams are lining up, and I don't know if it's because the fans expect more and more excitement. That costs a fortune to go to a match, and maybe the expectation of the fans is they want to play more of that type of football. So we are getting these midfielders that are a bit more. I mean, in the English leagues, we've always had those few midfielders that have been, outstanding. Think like when Lampard and Gerrard were kind of vying for the England team. We've got umpteen of those now. You've got Foden, you've got Palmer, you've got so many, Eze, all those that could potentially do that and get you loads of points. So yeah, it's completely
But
different now to what it was a few
typically
years ago.
the similar kind of thing when you're talking about tactically there, it's like when was the last time you saw a real partnership, a forward partnership? Your Shearer and Sutton, your Shearer and Sheringham, your Cole and whoever else, you know.
Big man, little man.
Yeah.
Or just the two that run off each other, you know, York and Cole. Like I say, that there seems to be very few partnerships. It seems to be that there's that congested area in the midfield and the 18-yard and try and play it through, but there isn't those stretching the players and the interchangeability of the forward line that has been for a long time.
Yeah, your traditional forward's gone. It's a front three now, isn't it? And you don't. They could all be three little guys now as well. Liverpool probably started it really with having Firmino, Salah, and
Mane,
Coutinho, Mane, that they had, and then everyone's kind of followed suit now. And I mean, in a sort of way, Leeds are a bit like that now in the Championship. They don't really have a centre forward as such. We're trying it a bit, but
Berra's been like that for years. And when we had Karanka years ago, he refused to play two up top, and he did it for 10 minutes once against Bolton. And we were 1-0 down, 1-2-1. It was working brilliantly, created loads of chances, never did it again.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that two up front.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why teams don't do it anymore. But anyway.
Everybody's trying to be Pep now out there. Every team wants to play the same style.
Yeah, which I think it can be entertaining, but it can be boring as well.
Oh, it can, yeah. Some of the City games are dire, you know, just passing it around. It's, you know, I'd rather go and watch like grassroots football where you're actually getting people trying to score rather than just pass the ball around for like 90 minutes. So.
Well, exactly. So, shall we review the scores across the divisions then?
Yes.
No.
Right. I think we should. Let's focus on the Championship.
Some of you won, some of you didn't. So anyway, we'll start at the bottom this week. Conference League. And the highest score in the whole league, actually, out of everybody was Vicky Sparks again, who got 99 last week, and she got 70 this week to beat George. So Ben Halliwell, not far behind her, got a 66, who thrashed Adam Constive, who was near the bottom. And other good scores, Duke got a 57 to beat Becky with a 47, and Sophie Ridge got a 57 to beat Pete, who was top, who got only a 36. League table-wise, Vicky's now top with 18 points. Duke's got 18 points. And Ben Halliwell has got 16 behind them. And in the playoff places, Alfie Witter, the Witters are doing well this week. He's got 16 points. Pete Martini, 15 points. George, 15. And Grace has 13. That's the playoffs there. League One, the best score was Andy Cousins, who got a 64, and he beat Stu, who only got 47. Rich Pipes got a 61 to beat Lee Nicholson with a 30. Tim Bresnan got 59 and beat you, Nath, unfortunately. Low scoring sides in that league. Ben Taylor got a 34 and beat Frankie with a 28. Craig Wilson got a 31 and beat Steve Wybrandt, who got 30, so unlucky to him. And Mike Bushell continues to keep winning. He beat Nige last week's guest. Wow. So he's doing all right. League tables wise there, Jamie Hurst top with 18 points. Rich Pipes, 15 points. Lee Nicholson, 15 points. Mike Bushell, fourth now with 15 points.
Amazing.
Mike's usually at top of the transfer table. Gareth's got 12. Anton's got 12 at the bottom. Nigel Clark with 7. Craig with 6. Stu with 3. And Chesney remains potless at the bottom with no points whatsoever. And he was unlucky there because his West Ham actually did all right last week and he had a few of those. Championship-wise, the top score on top of the table was Tom Gregory, 69 points, who beat Stu, who got 37. Phil Pinder got a 62 and beat Joe Derrick with a 46. Jim had a close game and beat Richley, 60-57. And the low-scoring wins there were for Carl, who got a 38 to beat Mark Morris, 32. Andrew Clancy got a 36 to beat Jonas with 30. And Nick was highly relieved, I can tell you, to get a 43 and beat Swanee, who got 32. League table-wise there, Tom Gregory's top, clear with 18 points. Then it's Jim with 15, Andrew Clancy 15, Carl on 15, Dave Atkins on 13, and Henry on 13 make up the playoffs. And at the bottom, there's Alistair Griffin on 6 points, who I don't think's won since he came on as a guest and won Manager of the Month. And you, Lee, with 6. And the bottom 3 are Ross with 6, Graham Swan with 6, and Jonas with 6. Into the top division then. It was a low-scoring week for Mark Somerton, but he's won again, so he's won 7 out of 7 now. He only got 37 points, though, and he beat Nikolai, who only got 31. The highest score in that division was Rick Witter, who got 63, and beat Leon, who only got 56. Although I think he'd be a bit annoyed with that one. 62 for Mark Horseman, beat Adam Devlin on 48. Alistair Bruce Ball got a 61 to beat John Gregory. Dan, very close again, but he 42, and he beat Faris, who got 36. Paul Chambers Tonner got 49 and beat Tom Bird with 47. Michelle got a 56 and beat Chris Duhamel. Andrew Chester got a 53 against our very own Chris, who got 51. And Neil Martin just beat Tom Roberts by 4 points. League table-wise, Mark is now 5 points clear with 21 points. Neil Martin's got 16, chasing him. Mark Horseman, 15. Chris, Andrew Chester, and Ed's all on 15 points. At the bottom half, 10 teams have got 9 points now. But the bottom 5 are Chris Payne with 7, Dan with 7, Adam Devlin with 6 points, although he's actually got the third highest game score in the division, so he won't be happy with that. John Gregory's got 6, and rock bottom is Faris with 3 points.
And that's that. And the two people who've not won any games, you pointed out over on the WhatsApp group, 007.
Yes.
Right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yes.
Now a long 2 weeks looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll look ahead to game week 8 in next week's pod, because of course it's International Week.
Yay.
And with that silly nonsense Nations League, we're not going to bother chatting too much about that. So we're going to move swiftly on and have a bit more of a chat with you, Nathan. So why Leeds? Why do you support Leeds United?
But born and bred here, I think, you know, it was the only choice. Got took there as a 4 or 5 year old, and everyone around me seems to have grown up being that way, you know, whether it's family or friends or anyone else. That was kind of where it was, and you could, from where I grew up in the distance, you could see Elland Road, you know, from the hill in Hyde Park, you could see it over there, so you could see the old Lowfields Road and the North Stand, so and the old floodlights in the 80s, you know, you could see them beaming late at night. So it was kind of like that's where you wanted to go. That's where you built your affinity, and you I don't know. It was the only choice, really.
It's good to hear people say that, because there's so many people who support the likes of United and Liverpool and stuff like that who grew up in the 80s when they've got a massive club on the doorstep. So, and yeah, what's your highs and lows of supporting Leeds? Anything that stands out in particular?
I think the to be totally honest, the 1991 the old second division championship coming up, I was probably, you know, 11-year-old then, and it was just the best times going, and you were going with your friends, and it was kind of that period where you just experiencing and finding your own way there, but also getting involved in the older lads and jumping about in the cop and at the back of the cop, and that's how it was. And then, you know, a year back in the league, and then you kind of win the first division at the time, before the Premier League, and it was a couple of magic years then, and even through to like 93, 94, where we signed Brian Dean and Tony Yeboah, and those nights where it just, there was something about it pre all the spending and everything else. There was a sensibility about it. It was like the rebuilding of, you know, Sergeant Wilco and things like that. It felt like there was a purpose there, and it felt like there was something that came out of the doldrums of of those barren years that never really went anywhere, and it really felt like there was something to get behind, and I think that's where the long-term affinity comes with it, and those players that came through, and it is that kind of squad, whether it is your Gary Speed, David Batty, all the classic line, like kind of 11 lineup that came through, Tony DeRigo at the time, but the youth team that came through then was the ones that we kind of go on to remember from that era today.
Excellent stuff. And any lows? Sorry to bring out the lows, but is there any point where you've... Well, I mean, it's true, every fan says there's like times where you think, what the hell am I doing this for? But it's like, what's as bad as it's got for you?
Oh, I mean, okay, those 7 or 8, 10 years ago, where you were going and you'd just be wondering. I mean, everyone's been there, right, and watched it and thought in their teams that there is just, everyone's got that side. There's not a feeling you can give, and you just think, well, just got to get on with it, right? And that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, those Chileno years were hard work, weren't they?
And you'd never know in 2 weeks' time who'd be managing, who'd be playing, if who'd be there, what would be going on around the ground. I mean, I remember being a season ticket holder in the South Stand I still am, but I mean, and there was the pie tax, right? I don't know if any of you knew about that, the pie tax.
Yeah, vaguely remember it, yeah.
So if you bought a season ticket, they kind of said, oh yeah, it's going up by this amount, by £5 a game. And you get in there and you get a token and you get a pie with your season ticket each game, or a pint, right? Yeah. So, but in the South Stand at the time, it wasn't me, but one of my friends was a vegetarian. So he'd turn up and he's like, I'm driving, and only pies left of meat. So you've done me out of everything. You're getting zero back, or you turn up and there'd be just no pies left. They're not putting enough in for the stand. So it's like, what are you actually getting for it? What's the pie tax about? Yeah, them Chileno years were the classics, right?
Yeah.
That's the lows, but also you just have to laugh at it at times.
Half empty grounds and great fun getting thrashed by Preston and things at home.
But it's all behind you now. You're back on the up, aren't you? Again. So I think this season's championship, I don't think there's anyone running away with it. So it's going to be really fascinating. I think that those teams who are near the top are going to stay pretty close this season, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. There's some big clubs up there as well, sort of traditional clubs, if you like. Well, Borough up there and Blackburn and Norwich and people like that. It's going to be Sheffield United. Are probably going to be our big rivals for the season, I'd have thought so.
I think Sheffield United will drop away. I'm hoping so anyway.
Oh, I hope so.
I think there's also, Burnley have come
Burnley,
down.
yeah.
You're looking at Luton and you're going, what's happened there? You lose Ross Barkley and you lose a couple of other players and you're thinking, what's happened overall? But you look at Burnley and they've played terrible, but they're still there. And you're thinking, well, what happens if it clicks and they actually get somewhere and they start going on a run? And that's the same with a couple of other teams. You look at West Brom and they haven't been great. They've just kind of trundled along and picked up points. And it's where I worry for Leeds that we've actually played quite well, but not got the points and not got the goals. So you're thinking, it worries about when the dip comes. But hopefully we'll maintain that points and we'll score the goals then.
Yeah, I think we'll find a bit of a run over winter and then we'll have our dip towards the end of the season like usual.
There's positivity. Right, I ask everyone to do the homework, Nathan, and get a question prepared for you. So I'll kick off. We've got a couple of questions. So, as a performer, do you prefer playing gigs solo or with the band?
I'm not a performer, so I'd probably say if I ever was one, I would be with a band, so you can take the limelight off me, and I'd probably be at the back drumming or at the side on bass, somewhere like that. I prefer to be in the background.
Nice one. Thank you very much. And Lee, what's your question?
I guess I've just moved to Derbyshire, and I can't seem to find. I've literally moved really, really recently, and I was lucky enough to live in Wigan, And the music scene around there, like the grassroots music scene, is absolutely superb. And there's been some great bands coming through recently. But how do you like get these bands? Because I'm thinking, you know, in like Derbyshire, there's nothing, there's nowhere for me to go, or I can't find anywhere to go and find this music. So where can I go? Like, what's the thing? What draws people to your venue that could be replicated in other towns and cities across the country?
I think that's a really difficult question that you could probably go on a long time about, but that's like a mix of the population that surrounds it and blends together. We're lucky in situated where we are in the middle of Hyde Park, that's, you know, surrounded by two major universities, a couple of colleges, the Arts Uni, the College of, or Leeds Conservatoire, which used to be Leeds College of Music, and you've got like this real melting pot of students past and present, but also people that have, if you look at where we are, you've got like the everything in Leeds artistically has come out of essentially this square mile, whether it be, you know, music, art, culture, people who've been and studied here and gone on to screen and theatre or anything else. I think what places need is those kind of same little enclaves that happen. So you'll find that in Manchester, you'll find that certainly in Nottingham, you know, just across the county border and places like that. It just needs those little bits that people can bounce off and create a community and get behind and support each other and create like a scene essentially around a venue and make some sounds and go to each other's shows. That's how it happens. And then, I mean, essentially starting that is probably, you know, a band that would be in there would be making friends on a tour and doing a gig swap and bringing people to the towns and stuff like that. And it's thinking outside of the box of those kind of things. They just needs to build a community first. The community comes before the music. That's the main kind of aspect that I would say.
Brilliant, thanks.
And it's cheap as well. It's cheap at Brudenell's.
It is.
Well, we like to keep it value, not cheap. Value.
Definite value, yeah.
Without a doubt. And just quickly, Lee always asks people if we think we should bring the McRib back. And weirdly enough, McDonald's are now bringing back the McRib. So, Lee, you can claim that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that one. I think my next one might be the Texan bar. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember the Texan bar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my next one. I think that should be brought back.
Do you think the buyer for McDonald's is listening?
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Lee asked that question 5 weeks in a row and the McRib is back. And that's all.
It's someone covert in the league who's kind of lurking with a skirt on somewhere.
Great idea.
Well, Chris, who's bottom of the Conference League, he's from the Burger Society or something.
That's true.
Yeah, so you never know.
Who knows? Anyone could be listening. So, Steve, what's your question?
Right. I'll go with, who is the favourite band you've had on at the Brudenell, and also who is top of your wish list?
It's really hard to, I think, to be put on the spot like that. There isn't a favourite. There's a bunch of favourites. Yeah. Right? That's what I'd say. It depends what mood you're in or where you're coming from. I think top of your wish list would be people that probably have passed away. So you'd be talking someone like Prince or others. I'll probably, let's just say Prince for now. Yeah. But people who we've had that are favourites, I think there's people who there's groups and stuff you build an affinity with, you build a relationship with, and you actually enjoy what they do as much as it is. There's been some amazing people play, and you can pull the names out of the hat, whether it be Johnny Marr, Tom Jones, you know, Elbow, Snow Patrol, X, Y, and Z. You can put all them in, but there's a bunch of bands such as Low, the OCs, that just when you see them, they put on a performance that captures you and it draws you in and it makes something special. The Twilight Sad, Mogwai, you know, some of the stuff there has been, I think, life affirming for me, and it kind of makes me reminds me why I do what I do sometimes, or why I stick to the venue and do what we're doing.
Yeah,
great stuff. And one more question from me. In the summer, Yard Act and English teacher, that was just like an absolute phenomenal gig. Like, what was it like? How is it different organising something like that as opposed to back at the social club?
I don't know if it is. I mean, you kind of, I think you get used to doing certain size shows beyond the point, and you just have to have those projections of doing it. The differences are essentially trying to mass market it to a much wider appealing audience, and you just have to make sure that you're hitting everyone and you're getting the posters, the artworks, the online ads, the digital ads. You know, the osmosis of it is getting out there, and that you can coordinating with the artist teams to get it in as many places as you can, and you've got to line up your marketing with the singles that come out on the album and everything else. But I mean, that show were probably pitched at when we were talking about when we were booking the academy. It's like, where do we want to see ourselves in 2.5, 3 years time? Where's the goal to get to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how can we build it up and make it to where they are? And within that, and then we look at, you know, where will that band be or English teacher be in 2 years? What kind of show? So when we pitched, you know, the Millennium Square show, it was like, if we're going to do something in Leeds and it's a big outdoor show, we want to try and make it a celebration of Leeds artists in some way. And so we want to have, you know, someone there. We didn't know who it was who was going to be the second on, but English teacher obviously come through and made it the right thing. But even then, making the first on, we were really proud and pleased to get the first on band, which were called Ultimate Thunder, which you know, come from a group of a team of people with learning disabilities, and that's something that James, the frontman of Yard Act, he used to be a carer with, not with those direct people, but with people affiliated within those groups, and the person who runs that Pyramid of Arts and stuff like that. He used to be in a band himself, did James Napoleon III. So there's kind of a long lineage of connections there, and it is just making it work together.
Great stuff. And I forgot to mention how good Fat Dog were as well. Very, very amazing band. So yeah, I would say that's arguably one of my favourite gigs of the summer, but there was so many gigs in the summer, like Shed 7 in York, that it's hard to say that. But it was up there for sure. It was a cracking day out and night out. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to promote particularly? I mean, you've always got gigs going on, but is there anything you particularly want to give a shout out to that people might be interested in?
I don't think there's a single show particularly that I'd go and say this is what you should go. I think I'm always all about trying to champion, you know, new and local artists, and saying maybe just go and scratch beneath the surface of what you're listening to, that you can see on Spotify. Look at the related artists, or look at the second on the bills in the shows that are coming up, because they're going to be the ones that you're going to want to listen to in 12 months and 18 months time, and the ones that you're going to. So it's like, can you take a chance, go and see it, and say, I was there? Do you have that Oasis moment? Do you have that first Yard Act moment? Can you be part of the journey?
Good wise advice. Thank you very much.
We should probably promote the Blue Tones because they might be listening.
I mean,
that's sold out though.
We were the first venue to sell out on that tour, so you know we'll promote the show that we probably will try and book for 2025 already.
Yeah. I'll have to get my name down for tickets for that one. It's not sold out, but yeah. But their new EP is fantastic.
It is great. Yeah,
I played that Billy Balfour on the radio.
We should really give a shout out to Shed 7, who were one of the first bands to do 2 number ones in the same year.
We should definitely.
Yes, definitely.
You know, and I think that's a real achievement, certainly for an artist that's not got as much major label backing as others, and you know, haven't got the young hype of the kids pushing it everywhere. So I'm really proud to see what they've done for themselves, you know.
No, it's phenomenal.
And also some breaking news today in York as well, that I think they're going to be naming a gritter after Rick. It's going to be called Rick Gritter.
Rick Gritter, amazing.
Brilliant.
news. Brilliant news. And get well soon, Rick, as well, because it's been announced today. Not obviously Friday morning, but you didn't play last night in London or tonight in London because you're not feeling too well. So fingers crossed you get well soon. So let's move swiftly on. Shall we play Sing When You're in Superfan? How's your footballing knowledge, Nath?
It depends what team or.
It'll be It's general Premier League nonsense over the last 20 odd years. So each week we test each guest's footballing knowledge, see how many questions you can get correct in 90 seconds. So Steve is our trusty official timer of the 90 seconds. Lee will have his fingers in the air and we'll count how many you've got right. So Steve, when we get to 90 seconds, what will you shout out this week?
Value.
Value. Brilliant. There we go. Value is the word of the week. So we'll start the 90 seconds. I'll start the first question. Have you got any questions about this, Nathan? Or should we just go for it?
Let's go for it.
Right. How many times have Sunderland finished the Premier League season in the top 4?
None.
You're right, none. Ron Nodes was caretaker manager of which Premier League club in 1998?
1998. Oh God. Aston Villa.
Crystal Palace, unlucky. Fernando Torres has played for how many different Premier League clubs?
2.
Yes. And David Bentley started his Premier League career at which club?
Wigan.
Arsenal, believe it or not. Who did James Beattie score 23 Premier League goals for?
Southampton.
It was Southampton, yep. Which goalkeeper holds the record for the most clean sheets in a single Premier League season?
Van der Sar.
Peter Cech, it was. And who is the youngest player to score a goal in the Premier League?
It's not James Milner. It's got to be James Milner. I should go for it, but I know it's not.
James Vaughan. And which Premier League player was part of the England squad that reached the semi-finals of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico?
Premier League player?
Yeah.
Value.
I'll start to finish. Which Premier League player was part of the England squad that reached the semi-finals of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico?
Who's the oldest player?
Well, he's not playing now, but he's played in the Premier League.
All right. Okay. Keeper. Mine's blank. Sorry.
No worries. It's Gary Lineker.
Oh.
Gary Lineker
Really?
played in the Premier League and obviously was in that England squad that got to the semi-finals. So you seem like you got quite a lot there. How many?
3.
3?
Oh, I got more than 3.
I thought you had more than
3.
3 as well.
3 it was.
I definitely got more than 3.
I'm not doing a stew. I'm not doing a stew.
We're going to rewatch it back and
Yeah.
It felt like at one point you were on the roll. I thought.
Yeah, I knew I got James Beattie. I knew I got some others. I think we've been done over here.
I'll tell you what. We'll listen back in the edit and we'll double check that one.
Well, just in case you do.
Yeah,
Well, it definitely wasn't 6 anyway. So
it wasn't 6, but I thought you'd do more than 3. But
I was from Stockport. I could do 6 on one hand.
Well, you'll get us in trouble with people from.
I never get that. That chant, right? 6 fingers. You've got 6 fingers, and I've got 5 because you've got 4 fingers, right? On one thumb. So I'm sitting there thinking, who's the clowns here? Right? When I'm looking around me at the fans that are singing it, but anyway, sorry, but just the pedant bit of me there, you know.
I like it. Good insight. So let's have an update on, and we've got 2 of us are wearing the shirt, the Sing When You're Winning shirt, the Bletchley Scott. Come on, Bletchley. And yeah, as you know, we are sponsoring the under 15 football team this season, and I'm pleased to say that they had their first victory at the weekend.
Yes.
Come on, Bletchley.
And it wasn't just any victory either. It was a resounding victory. Congratulations to all of the lads. I know we've had a couple of defeats, have had a couple of draws, but yeah, a massive, massive win at the weekend. So congratulations to them. And remember, you can also get hold of this shirt as well if you want to order one. This fetching looking shirt from the Terrace, get on board with that. So yeah. And next time we play, I'm just looking at the final score. Yeah, the final score was 7-2 at the weekend.
Oh.
So phenomenal win.
Well done, Bletchley.
Yeah, well done, Bletchley. Indeed. So
you shouldn't really champion youth football having big results like that, but we really want it, really. Don't
well,
we? We want
swings and roundabouts.
He got hammered in the first week, so I think.
Yeah, we championed when they lost.
But, like those dads on the sideline that are screaming at them. Go on, have another one, and another one. That's kind of this lot from afar, right?
we would be those people, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. We should just champion a draw in future then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next time there's a draw, we'll think of you. You'll be happy with that one. But yeah, we'll still say, "Come on, Bletchley." We'll still do that.
Go on,
cool.
Bletchley.
Come on, Bletchley. Indeed. Right. We're going to play a different game this week. Regular listeners and viewers on YouTube, of which there are many, I'm sure, will remember we normally play Shooting Stars, where we look back on like Shoot Magazine, Match Magazine player profiles. But in honor of you being our guest, Nathan, we're going to play a game of what I like to call Play Your Charts Right. So basically, you're familiar with higher or lower, play your cards right?
I am, yes.
You are? Good.
I've grown up in an old social club many times and seen that.
Excellent. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a song by a football team, and you're going to guess the first one. You're going to guess what position it got in the charts. And then as we go along the next ones, you're going to say whether the previous song was higher or lower in the charts, if that makes sense. That's where we're going to go. So I'll start with the first song. In 1972, Leeds United by Leeds United. What number in the charts do you think that got to, just for fun?
Are we all playing this or just
Nick? You can all play if you like. Yeah,
16.
I don't know. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Number 10.
I'm gonna go 52.
I think he doesn't look old enough, but Steve must have bought it because it was number 10 in 1972. There you go. Well done. Right, let's go higher or lower than number 10. We're going all the way up to 1981 for Aussie's Dream, Spurs Are on the Way to Wembley by Chaz and Dave. Is that higher or lower than number 10 in the charts?
It's got to be higher, sure.
Yeah, it's got to be. Anything with Chaz and Dave's higher.
Yeah, you're all right. It's number 5 in the charts. So I thought it was even higher than that, but it wasn't. Number 5 for a bit of Aussie's Dream. 1988, Anfield Rap.
Oh, again, I think that was number 1, wasn't it?
It wasn't number 1, I'll tell you that.
2 then.
Go higher.
Yeah, I'll go higher.
You're going higher again. You're right to go higher, but it was number 3.
Ooh.
So, and then in 1998, Arsenal had a song with Hot Stuff.
That's got to be lower. Well, it's got to be lower.
Yeah, it wasn't Hot Stuff to us, what it? So.
Well, it wasn't, but it was still a top 10 single, believe it or not. I don't really recall it, to be fair. Yeah. I was obsessed with the charts back then.
When was that? 98?
1998, yeah.
I thought kind of football records had died out by then.
Yeah, but it got to number 9 in the charts, believe it or not. And the last one, all the way to 1970, back home, England national team, higher or lower than number 9?
Higher.
I'll go lower then.
Right. He's gone lower. It's the only one on the charts, number 1. Believe it or not, Back Home was the number 1 single for the England national team. So there you go. I think you got maximum points there on play.
Yes.
That's right. Well done. There we go.
What we need is more footballers bringing singles out, isn't it?
We do. I'm missing the footballers playing dodgy song.
Diamond Lights.
Kevin Keegan was doing one on Top of the Pops the other week. Classic.
Yeah, Diamond Lights was a classic.
Singing love songs and stuff like that. That's what we need.
Yeah. Terry Venables had a bit of a a role of being a crooner, didn't he?
Yeah, we could do it like Haaland singing a song, or Bruno Fernandes.
If only there was a stock aitken of Waterman around now. No, I'd correct that. We don't need more of that nonsense. So there you go. That was our Sing When You're Winning for this week. So remember, you can follow us on Twitter at SWYW_FPL. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, just leave a comment and we might even discuss it in next week's show, where we'll be joined by another top guest and looking ahead to game week 8. And not really talking much about the international weekend or week. But do remember to support non-league football this weekend as well. Lots of great FA Cup weekend qualifying round this weekend as well. So if you want to get along to one of those games, you should do. But yeah, thanks so much, Nathan, for joining us. Good luck with the season.
Thank you.
And yeah, enjoy, and thanks once again to Lee and to Steve. The rest of the gang will hopefully be back from their many excuses next week. But enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning.